Coming up on Hoosier Sports Night, Indiana baseball drops another one to Indiana State as the NCAA tournament window is closing.
And softball struggles in Madison. This is Hoosier Sports Night.
Hello and welcome to Hoosier Sports Night. I'm Graham Nash.
And I'm Josh Pose. Graham, the Masters have come and gone, and I'm hearing that Rory McIlroy put a tear in your eye.
Yeah, multiple. I'll admit, multiple. But hey, Masters has come and gone, like you said. We still got baseball. Yeah. And speaking of baseball, that is where we're going to start today's show. Indiana baseball finds itself in a familiar situation, looking to boost its resume in April. This time, it's a midweek clash with Indiana State in Bloomington. The guy next to me, also known as Chicago's finest, also known as Josh Post, has the recap.
For the second straight season, Indiana baseball hits tax day with a 20-16 record. On the outside looking in at the NCAA tournament picture and knowing there's still work to be done. Coming off a missed chance to take a series against Illinois, the Hoosiers began their postseason push Tuesday night, hosting Indiana State in the return leg of a home-and-home.
You turned a corner last week and you have a chance to win the Friday game, and you play fine on Saturday, and then you kind of get drilled on Sunday. So, it's hard, but it's a hard game. It's a hard sport. You just got to keep showing up and go back to work.
Eerily similar to its weekend woes in Champaign, the Indiana offense couldn't get anything consistent rolling. The Hoosiers scored the first runs of the game with a Jason Oliver home run in the second, but the offense once again fell stagnant. Indiana brought the tying run to the plate in the ninth, but couldn't scratch it across, ultimately falling to the Sycamores 7-5, frustrating its head coach along the way.
And we didn't do enough offensively to be able to pull through, but I don't think it was letting foot off the gas. We come back there in the ninth and have a chance there to win it, and weren't able to pull it off.
With 18 games to play, Indiana faces a critical stretch, needing to accumulate wins to offset a resume that currently lacks marquee victories. A similar scenario played out last season, and the team responded well down the stretch, a precedent that offers some reassurance to Jeff Mercer and his coaching staff as they navigate a postseason push.
A road trip, and we'll get back to work tomorrow and go back through it. But yeah, it's frustrating and it's hard, but like everything else in life, it's frustrating and hard. So you just got to show back up and go back to it.
Indiana now faces a tough 12-game Big Ten stretch to end the season, and it starts this weekend in Bloomington with a 3-game weekend series against the Maryland Terrapins. From Bar Kaufman Field, I'm Josh Pose, IUSTV Sports.
Follow along with our baseball beat all weekend long for updates on the Hoosiers' upcoming series with the Terrapins.
Graham, I'm flattered, but Indiana softball hit the road this past weekend, taking on Wisconsin in a 3-game series. On Friday, Bree Copeland launched her 42nd career home run to take over the program record, but the Hoosiers came up short in a back-and-forth battle, falling 6-5. They bounced back strong on Saturday, run-ruling the Badgers 14-1 in just 5 innings. And on Sunday, despite out-hitting the Badgers 11-6, Indiana couldn't capitalize in the series finale, falling 10-5 to close out the weekend. The Hoosiers now sit at 20-12 overall. They'll hit the road again this weekend, a 2-game set against Nebraska.
Indiana Track and Field closed out the Crimson Tide Invitational on April 12th with multiple wins and personal bests, showing a lot of momentum. The women kicked off the day with Olivia Gee placing 4th in the 100-meter hurdles, and Aaliyah Johnson moved to 8th all-time at IU in the 100-meter dash with a personal best 11.66 seconds. In the 800-meter, Veronica Hargrave led a group of 4 Hoosiers in the top 10, finishing 2nd with a PR of 2 minutes and 4 seconds. The men's 800-meter saw a sweep of top finishes led by Martin Segurola with a time of 1 minute and 48 seconds, which was also a personal best. Treely Banks Rose clocked a blazing 20.59 in the 200-meter to move to 5th all-time in school history. We're still going. In the field, Michaela Hunter placed 3rd in the shot put with a mark that ranks 8th in program history. And lastly, both 4x4 relays placed in the top 5, with the women's team finishing 2nd. Next up, Indiana hits the road again, competing at the Gibson Invitational and Wake Forest Invitational, starting Thursday, April 17th.
Graham, that was darn impressive. That was a lot of words. You did it like a champion.
Thank you.
But coming up after the break, we'll crown our Hoosier Highlight Athlete of the Week.
And water polo faces off against number 2 Stanford. We have the details from the ranked road match. Welcome back to Hoosier Sports Night.
Now joining us in studio for this week's Hoosier Highlight is our very own Grace Jeffer. Grace?
Thank you, Josh. This week's Hoosier Highlight Athlete of the Week is senior first baseman and pitcher Brianna Copeland. What a week it's been for Copeland. She's got a lot more than just her birthday to celebrate, though. The All-American has been on fire this whole season. However, things heated up even more last week when she hit her 41st career home run at home against Louisville, breaking the program home run record. This title has been held by Tori Yamaguchi since 2008. This historic long ball was Copeland's 11th of the season, making it the second time in her career that she recorded double-digit home runs in a single season. To follow up this milestone, IU softball traveled to Wisconsin over the weekend, where Copeland extended the home run record to 42 with a 2-run homer. IU softball head coach Shonda Stanton recognizes Copeland as a difference maker, game changer, and a joy to be around. That's all for this week's Hoosier Highlight Athlete of the Week. Back to you at the desk.
Thanks a bunch, Grace. The Indiana men's tennis team came home for the first time this month, facing two West Coast Big Ten foes over the weekend. Our Jack Kapik has the recap.
Hoosiers had another tough weekend this weekend, dropping on Friday to Oregon and losing today, Sunday, to Washington. It was senior day today. Michael Andre played his final game for the Hoosiers here at the Indiana Tennis Center.
The number one thing with Michael is passion, and he shows passion in everything he does. He goes 100% in whatever he does, and you know this team was his passion.
Despite dropping to Oregon on Friday by a final score of 4-1, the lone win came from the senior Michael Andre, who was able to secure a win at number 4 singles in 2 sets. Sunday versus Washington, the freshman Karen Raghavendra earned himself a win at number 6 singles. The 2 wins marked the only 2 for the Hoosiers this weekend. However, it was great for the senior to earn one final singles win at the Indiana Tennis Center. When looking forward to the future, here's what Coach had to say about next weekend's slate of games.
You know, Ohio State's probably the best team in the conference, maybe the 3rd, 4th best team in the country. You know, on the road, it's going to be a tough match, but we'll go swing up and see what we can do. And then Penn State, I think, is a very similar team to us. So that's a match that we want to competitively put ourselves in the position like we have in some of these other matches, and you know, try to be clutch in the bigger moments.
The Hoosiers look forward to next weekend, where they have the top-ranked Ohio State Buckeyes as well as Penn State, as they look to improve on what has been a lackluster season. With IUSTV Sports, I'm Jack Kapik, signing off.
The Hoosiers will look to get back in the win column heading out to Ohio State and Penn State this weekend.
Women's water polo continued a rough losing streak this past weekend as they lost 19-5 against number 2 Stanford in California. In the first minute, Stanford proved their ranking by scoring back-to-back goals against the Hoosier defense. They continued to pour on with 3 more goals before Indiana's Skylar Kidd scored the first Hoosier goal to bring the score to 5-1 at the end of the first quarter. The Cardinals did not let up, led by sophomore Jenna Flynn earning a team-high 6 goals across the first 3 quarters. As the match rounded out in the 4th, the Hoosiers tried to fight back with 2 more goals of their own, but it was too little, too late. The team will find themselves back here in Bloomington to take on number 14 University of Michigan on Saturday.
The Indiana women's tennis team went 0-2 this past weekend, taking on Minnesota and Wisconsin. The Hoosiers started their weekend in Minneapolis, dropping a 4-1 decision to the Gophers, rather. Nicole Teodescu picked up the only point for the Hoosiers, winning her 2nd singles match in a row. The team then picked up their 2nd loss for the weekend to number 25 Wisconsin in a 4-1 decision. The single Indiana point came from freshman Nicole Cifuentes in her singles match win. The team will close out their regular season in Bloomington this weekend against Illinois Northwestern before gearing up for the Big Ten tournament.
We talked golf at the start of the show. We've got more. The IU women's golf team battled all weekend at a tough course in Columbus, Ohio at the Therese Hessian Buckeye Invitational. Hoosier golfer Madison Dabagia led the way for Indiana as she posted the only sub-72 round for the Hoosiers. That excellent 3rd round propelled her to an excellent 6th place in the individual rankings. The rest of the Indiana golfers struggled, though, as the Hoosiers were only able to finish ahead of one other Big Ten team. IU will need to improve their team-wide performance as they travel to Havre de Grace for the Big Ten Championships, a tournament that they won last year.
I feel like you've played at Havre de Grace, but we're going to send it over. Now joining us this week for the Candy Stripe Calendar Report is Mike Badrov. Mike?
Thanks, guys, and welcome to the Candy Stripe Calendar. It is a packed Easter weekend, and while I don't have any plans, our Hoosier athletes definitely do. Let's take a look at what's on the calendar. Starting with Friday, baseball kicks off a 3-game home series against Maryland that will run through the weekend. Softball hits the road, heading out to Cornhusker territory for a 2-game series of their own. They're joined by both men's and women's tennis. The men's team will travel to Columbus and face the number 3 Buckeyes, while the women's team stays at home to host the Fighting Illini right here in Bloomington. Track and field will be all over the place this weekend, competing in 3 separate away invitationals. The Tom Jones Memorial in Gainesville on Friday and Saturday, the Wake Forest Invitational in North Carolina on Thursday and Friday, and the Gibson Invitational Thursday through Saturday just up the road in Terre Haute. Women's rowing and women's golf both have Big Ten events this weekend. Rowing heads down to Sarasota for the Big Ten Invitational, and golf travels up to Havre de Grace, Maryland for the Big Ten Championship. Looking ahead to Saturday, water polo hosts the Michigan Wolverines at home, hoping to bounce back after last weekend's tough 19-5 loss to Stanford. Baseball and softball continue with Game 2 of their series, and men's golf travels to West Lafayette for the Boilermaker Intercollegiate. And finally, on Easter Sunday, women's tennis will wrap up the regular season at home against Northwestern, while men's tennis heads out to Penn State to close out their schedule. And that is a wrap for this very busy IU weekend and this week's Candy Stripe Calendar. Thank you, and back to you guys at the desk.
And that's our show for the week. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at IUSTV Sports. For our production crew behind us, I'm Graham Nash.
And I'm Josh Pose. We'll see you next week.
Thanks for watching IUSTV Sports. Be sure to subscribe at IUSTV and follow us on Instagram and X at IUSTV Sports.